The Tragedy of Macbeth by William Shakespeare. Act 1. Setting, Scotland. An open place. Thunder and lightning grace the sky. 3 witches appear. They are planning to meet Macbeth. An important theme that will reoccur throughout the play is recited at the end of Scene 1. Fair is foul, and foul is fair. A paradox which means what is good is bad, and what is bad is good. Scene 2. King Duncan enters the room along with his 2 sons, Malcolm and Donaldon, and Lennox, a nobleman. They were met by a bleeding captain. Malcolm asks the captain of knowledge regarding the battle with the Irish invaders, led by the rebel MacDonald. The captain tells of the brave Macbeth who slayed MacDonald. The Thane of Ross enters and reiterates the defeat of the Irish invaders and the army of Norway repelled. King Duncan declares that the late MacDonald's title, Thane of Cawdor, should be given to Macbeth as a reward for his victory. Scene 3. The witches reappear. One has just come back from killing a swine, and the other speaks of the revenge she has planned for a sailor whose wife refused to give her chestnuts. A drum plays, and one of the witches screamed that Macbeth is approaching. Macbeth and his companion Banquo are stunned by the 3 gruesome witches, with their lady beards and their hideous appearance. The witches greet Macbeth with first the title passed down from his father, Thane of Glamis. Then the Thane of Cawdor, even though Macbeth has not even yet received this title. And lastly, the witch bestow the title of King of Scots to Macbeth. The witches also tell the fortune of Banquo, that he is lesser than Macbeth and greater, not so happy yet much happier, and that Banquo's offspring will one day rule Scotland. After giving their prophecies, the witches vanish. Ross arrives with the news that Macbeth is now the Thane of Cawdor. The king's son Malcolm reports to his father that the Cawdor died nobly and confessed to treason. Macbeth, Banquo, Ross, and Angus enter the room. Duncan thanks the 2 for their heroism. The king then announces that his son Malcolm will be the heir to the throne. Macbeth sees this as a call to action. King Duncan plans to dine at Macbeth's castle that night. Macbeth hurries home to inform his wife that the king will be joining them for dinner. Lady Macbeth reads a letter from her husband. The letter informs his wife of the meeting with the witches and the approaching arrival of the king. Lady Macbeth knows that she must convince her husband to do what is needed to be done in order for him to become king. She asks the spirits to cast away her feminine side so that she can do the bloody sacrifice that is needed to ensure the crown. When Macbeth arrives, she tells him to leave the planning up to her. Duncan and his men arrive at Macbeth's castle. Duncan professes his love for their host, Macbeth. They are setting up for the feast, and Macbeth is struggling with his conscience over the idea of assassinating King Duncan. He understands that horrible things can happen if he goes through with it. He also comes up with plenty of reasons why not to kill Duncan. He realizes that the only reason to kill his king is for his own gain. With much debate, Lady Macbeth finally tells her husband to man up. She then reveals her plan to Macbeth. She plans to get the chamberlains drunk and then slip in when Duncan is sleeping and kill him. Then put the blame on the chamberlains.